In today's courtroom case, Samantha Van Agus appears before the court after being charged with transporting more than 400 grams of methamphetamine, a serious offense carrying major legal consequences. Throughout the hearing, her defense attorney works hard to convince the judge that she deserves probation rather than prison time, arguing that her actions were heavily influenced by addiction, financial struggles, and difficult life circumstances. The defense paints her as someone who became trapped in a cycle of poor choices rather than a hardened criminal. During her testimony, Samantha speaks openly about the hardships she has faced and attempts to explain her involvement in the case. She claims she was aware drugs were present in the vehicle but insists they did not belong to her, suggesting she was caught in a situation connected to her boyfriend rather than acting as the primary offender. Her emotional statements aim to show the court that she is capable of rehabilitation if given the right opportunity through treatment and supervision. However, the prosecution focuses on the seriousness of the offense and her long criminal history. The judge carefully reviews her record, which includes multiple prior prison sentences as well as repeated failures to comply with probation and parole conditions. These past violations raise major concerns about whether she can be trusted to follow court-ordered supervision if released back into the community. As the hearing reaches its most intense moment, the judge makes it clear that the amount of drugs involved and Samantha's repeated pattern of reoffending leave little room for leniency. In the final ruling, she is sentenced to 15 years in prison in order to pay a $2,000 fine. The court also explains that because of her plea agreement, she will not have the right to appeal. It's a powerful courtroom moment that highlights how prior criminal history can heavily influence sentencing decisions in serious drug cases.
Versus Samantha Van Agus. Could I have parties announced?
Jason Garahan, State Yard.
Denny Callahan, defense.
And are you Ms. Van Agus?
Yes, ma'am.
You entered a plea to count 2 on March 26. You entered a plea of no contest. According to your plea bargain agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 15 years in the prison. There's a $2,000 fine. State opposes your application for community supervision and deferred adjudication. They're taking in consideration 2024 CR 008054. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report and TAP evaluation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections, state or defense?
No, Your Honor.
Any witnesses, state?
State.
Defense, any witnesses?
Only allocution in writing from the defendant.
All right. Any objections to the court reviewing the defendant's writing?
No, Your Honor, the state is actually reviewed. No objection.
Okay. All right. The court will hear argument. Well, before I hear argument, there are some things that defense maybe you can address with the court. It says in the PSI that her guilt is minimized. And I did read where she's saying that the vehicle's not hers. She knew there was drugs in the trunk, but she didn't throw them away. She didn't do anything about it. So I don't know if there's any insight you would like to give on that.
Yes, Your Honor. I think it's a good inference from the stipulations and the PSI that she was used as a pawn, taking advantage of her poverty and her addictions to methamphetamine. And she's ashamed of that in her life, not only you, but more particularly to her family. There is an element of voluntariness in her actions. There's also an element of being trapped in her actions. And that was one of the things I would ask the court to consider before you assess punishment. I have 3 other remarks.
All right, you may proceed.
And I suggest to the court as a proper resolution of this case, because she's still relatively young, deferred adjudication, 10 years, ISF treatment, and she asks you to put her into drug court, which is intensive supervision for every day. That shows some indication of remorse and desire to be rehabilitated.
All right, so here's part of my issues, right?
Yes, ma'am.
One, I have to look at criminal history. And I would have clients sometimes, you know what they would tell me? Why are people looking at my criminal history? We're just here for this. That was in the past. But I would always tell them that your criminal history is sort of like a credit report. And what you're trying to get is probation. So people are trying to say, oh, has she been placed on probation before? You know, will she do well? So it shows that you've been on probation before, and a motion to revoke was filed, and you were revoked and sentenced to 5 years. I know that was in 2007.
Right.
And then in 2014, you were sent to prison for another case. And in 2015, there's a case that you were sent to prison for, and I believe these were running concurrently because it appears that they were running concurrently. And then 2016, again, that's a case. It was running concurrently with the others. So what I'm viewing, it doesn't appear that you would be a good candidate for probation.
May I say something?
Sure. You want to raise your right hand though, because the state may have some questions if you want to say something. All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. You can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
My name is Samantha Benavides. I know, okay, I did, in 2010, I went to prison. I was gonna get reinstated on probation, but I took it up with my grandfather, and my grandfather wanted me to go do the time instead of being reinstated on my probation, because he was scared that I was gonna get messed up again and go do a large number of time, and he was gonna pass away.
And how old were you when that happened?
I was 29, 30. And so that's why I chose that. I chose that because my grandpa asked me to do that, and he ended up passing away 6 months before my release. But that is why I was going to get reinstated. At the time, my attorney was William Reese, and they were going to reinstate me and send me home, but my grandfather asked me to get it over with. I went to prison.
All right, so you're telling me that. I could understand maybe there being pressure on you with saying, oh, let me listen to my grandfather and take this time. But at the time, you were 29, 30. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other cases, because you got out of prison, and then you pick up more cases.
In 2014, I revoked. I had my parole, and I went back to ISF for the last 3 months of my my parole, and then that was done with that. And then in 2016, I went to prison again in 2016, and then I revoked and went back to safety, and I came out and I completed the rest of my probation.
Okay. Why do you keep failing that probation?
With parole, the second.
Well, I mean, you failed at probation and you failed at parole. Why?
The first time when I was younger, I really don't have, I made some poor choices in my life back then, and I was young, I was ignorant.
But no, for the case that you said the first case, you said, I just agreed to be revoked because of my grandfather.
Yeah.
All right, you're telling me then you were 29.
Yes, I didn't go report.
All
I
right.
didn't go report, and I had a drinking problem back then.
Okay.
And back then I would use cocaine a little, and but I had a heavy drinking problem. So I was young, I was stupid, I was living in the bars basically. And I wasn't, keep out there running the streets or nothing like that. I just didn't want to go report. And that was my biggest downfall right there. If I would have went and reported and went and taken a UA, everything would have been okay. My life would have been a little bit, different. The other time, when I got out, I violated parole. It was because I came out of dirty UA.
Okay, let me ask you this,
Okay.
because I understand your past. Do you know the amount of drugs this was, the weight of it?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
It's a lot, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can continue.
My life for a little while, I was just, I made a lot of mistakes and I'm not proud of it. I'm very sorry for them. If I could take them all back, I would. Now that I'm older, now that I see things differently, and trust me, this opened my eyes. I was doing a lot, I was just trying to, this last offense, it I was something, it was just, I was trying to, get by, pay my bills. I was stuck in it. I was just trying to get out of it. And I see now that what it cost me, what it could cost me. And I apologize for that.
No, but here's the thing. You had a previous drug case.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't understand why you continue to try to build your happiness off somebody else's misery. So that's basically what you're doing. You're taking a shortcut and you're building your happiness off somebody else's misery. Addiction and can't stop. And there you are for money.
You're right.
All right. State, do you have any questions?
Just facts of this case.
Okay.
Ms. Venegas, on this case, you stated that the drugs weren't yours or the drugs were somebody else's.
It wasn't mine, it was in the vehicle.
All right. Could you speak up, please?
It wasn't mine, it was in the vehicle. But I was aware that it was in it. And I should have gotten rid of it.
So you're aware that you had a key in your pocket that matched the lock to the box that the drugs were in?
Yes.
Right. Okay. No further question, Your Honor.
Nothing further. I have one other point, Your Honor.
Yes.
She has family support and was unable to get finalized letters into your hand indicating that support. That's all, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Venegas,
Yes, ma'am.
the amount of drugs in this case
Yes, ma'am.
is, let me see, over 400 grams.
Yes, ma'am.
And from what I read in the police report, the being in your boyfriend's car and you don't know, you were in your boyfriend's car and you should have got rid of them, but you didn't. It doesn't ring true based upon what I read in the police report, because according to the police report, you're known. That's what was stipulated to. I don't think you're a good candidate for probation. The court is going to find you guilty. The court will sentence you to 15 years in the prison. There's a $2,000 fine. Time and money will run concurrently. The court will take in consideration 2024 CR 008054. I'll suggest the therapeutic community. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Excuse me. Thank you. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney.
This courtroom case follows Samantha Venegas, who appears before the court after being arrested for transporting over 400 grams of methamphetamine. The hearing quickly becomes serious as the judge and attorneys debate whether she should receive probation or a lengthy prison sentence. Her defense argues that she is a product of addiction and difficult life circumstances, requesting treatment and drug court instead of prison. Samantha also testifies, explaining her struggles and claiming she was aware of the drugs but not the main owner, trying to reduce her level of responsibility. However, the prosecution and judge focus on her criminal history, including multiple prior prison sentences and repeated probation violations. This pattern raises concerns that she has not responded to previous chances for rehabilitation. In the end, the judge rejects probation due to the large quantity of drugs and her repeated offenses. Samantha is sentenced to 15 years in prison along with a $2,000 fine, and the court notes that she cannot appeal due to her plea agreement. The case ends as a clear example of how prior records heavily influence sentencing in serious drug cases.